拜拜。
OK，Hello everybody。
对，大家好。然后现在已经是到7点钟了，那我们就要正式开始我们今天的 Greek Mythology 的这个讲座了。那我在正式开始之前呢，可能占用大家1到2分钟的时间。如果你们的爸爸妈妈还在这里的话，然后可以请他们也来听一下。如果说不在的话，那就一下喽。今天这一节，不好意思，把所有的人都 mute 一下。OK， 好，我们这是本次的这个希腊神话的最后一节课。接下来呢，我们大概会休息3周，然后也给大家一点读书的时间，然后我们互相都准备一下，然后我们会开始讲希腊名人这新的一系列。希腊名人这个系列呢，是故事和历史的知识相结合的一个讲座，然后我讲的会比较多一些。也欢迎朋友们呢，如果对我们比较还希望继续学习，然后继续跟我们一起来分享这些希腊的故事和希腊的这种历史知识的话，然后欢迎来试听。如果觉得满意呢，然后到时候可以继续跟我们一起来把一起走这个比较完整的一个过程吧，把这个希腊的历史和欧洲的历史，希望我们大家一起能够学到最后。那么就是闲言少叙，大家听刚才的歌也听出来了，这一首歌是王俊凯啦，然后萧敬腾啦，还有谢霆锋他们3个人合唱的那个《平凡之路》。那我们今天要讲的这个故事呢，是一个不平凡之路，是大家都是一个在路上的故事。今天继续讲我们的奥德修斯的回家之路，奥德赛。那么我是今天的小助理安娜，这是我们的主持人北坤。好，谢谢北坤。
Okay, and hello everybody. This will be our last Greek mythology class of this unit, but we won't finish. We will still have more units to come. So anyways, regarding Greek mythology and the Odyssey, we did half of the Odyssey last time, which we talked about Odysseus coming back and his journey on the seas. But do you guys remember what happened last time and what monsters he encountered? Yes, Brian.
He encountered the one-eyed Cyclops that was the son of Poseidon, I think.
Yeah. Polyphemus.
And he encountered like the sea monsters and the water-sucking monster.
Charybdis and Scylla, right?
What?
Charybdis is the water-sucking monster.
Yeah.
还有谁能记住的，可以积极的举手回答。还能记住我们上一次讲了什么吗
？Brian again.
And also the 3, I think it's 3 human-eating giants, I think.
Human-eating.
Which 3? I thought the
3? I remember there's like something about like the human-eating people that like Odysseus first encountered. They were like friendly, and then after they planned on eating them, I think.
Is it Hades dog? Cyprus?
Giants?
是他们在那个巨人那边吗？对不对？
Well, I remember Polyphemus ate them, and the Cyclops, and then there's also the man-eating giants that threw rocks at them.
Yeah, the man-eating giants.
Oh, they're the Lastrygonians. Yeah, it's a very hard name.
很不错，记住了这么多。还有吗？张怡。
They ate the Helios cattle.
Yeah, and that's what led them all to die, you know. All right, so we're going to continue. So that's like the things. Odysseus's first half, the first half of the Odyssey is more mythical, and the second half is more political and more man vs man, not man vs nature. So this time we are going to be going on into the second half of the Odyssey, where Odysseus returns to Ithaca. Well, at least he gets saved. And then he is going to, do his usual heroic stuff. Although the Odyssey, it doesn't introduce Odysseus very heroic. It introduces him as a refugee, a very hurt and helpless man that was stuck on the island. But then later he gets his chance to shine. So these are the characters that are somewhat important after the return. We did this part last time, but that was before the return because it's split into two pieces. The first piece is a man vs nature, Odysseus and his crew against the monsters on the sea. And the second part is man vs man, Odysseus and Telemachus, which is his son, against the suitors in his palace. So first of all is our main character, Odysseus. And then Athena. Athena has always blessed and favored Odysseus, so she kind of helped him very, very much by, using her magic and stuff. Nextly is Penelope. Penelope is Odysseus's wife, and after Odysseus left for 20 whole years, including the 10 years at Troy and the 10 years on sea, people thought that he was obviously dead. Who would survive that? But nobody knew that Odysseus actually survived. And people, or we should call them suitors, because they wanted to marry Penelope. So they began to infest Odysseus's palace and then went there for free feasts and wore down their economy things. So that's why Odysseus had to kill them all. Nextly is Telemachus, Odysseus's ambitious son. Well, I guess not ambitious, but he is he made Odysseus very proud. And Telemachus was always trying to get the suitors out, but because he was only one person, he couldn't do that. Nextly is Eumaeus, Odysseus's swineherd. A swine is a pig, in case you didn't know, so he raised pigs. And Eumaeus was one of the few people that stayed loyal to Odysseus. For example, some maids went unloyal and helped the suitors, so Odysseus killed them. Now we're going into the less but still important characters, like Euryclea, Odysseus's old nurse. And she was the first one that found out who Odysseus was when he was disguised, but it was by an incident. And last but not least, Odysseus's own father, Laertes.
别忘了还有莫涅纳俄斯和他美丽的太太海伦。
Well, yeah, but they only appear to tell about Odysseus, and they gave Telemachus some gifts. Okay, so the next half of the Odyssey is split into 2 points of view, or POV, 2 perspectives. So that means we'll be going into 2 different storylines. So on Odysseus's side, this guy's Odysseus. He will be traveling from Calypso's island, Ogygia, to Phoenicia, another island, which we'll talk about later. And on Telemachus's side, this is Telemachus. He will be going to Pylos, which is the home of Nestor. So this part is we are going to talk a bit about the heroes of the Iliad. In case you guys didn't remember about the Iliad was a 10-year-long war, also known as the Trojan War. So Pylos is the home of King Nestor, old warrior on the ancient side or the Greek side. And next, after Pylos, Telemachus will go to Sparta to seek out Menelaus. And then in the end, when they both return to Ithaca, they will meet at the same place.
他们在那个牧猪人的地方相会了，然后商量了一些策略，要去对付那些卑鄙的求婚者。
So this is when their paths converge, because before our whole story is split apart, and it's a bit confusing. But after they merge together, it's actually much easier to know what's happening.
在中国的那个小说里面，我们经常会说花开两朵，各表一枝，然后最后他们汇总到一个地方，他的故事就合流了。
Okay, so let's go on the part of Telemachus first, because Telemachus, of course, his part is a bit shorter. So Telemachus, well, at first, we have to begin the Odyssey on Olympus. So on Olympus, Zeus decides that he will end Odysseus' suffering. And by that, I don't mean he's going to kill him. I mean that he's going to set Odysseus free. So he tells Hermes to tell Calypso this. And he also sends Athena to tell Telemachus this. So we're not going to talk about Athena. We're not going to talk about how Athena travels to Ithaca right now. We're going to talk about Hermes. So Hermes goes to Calypso's island, and then we will do Odysseus later. So on Calypso's island, Hermes tells Calypso to let Odysseus free, and Odysseus builds a raft and he sails away. But of course, we will have an extended version of this. So on Telemachus' side, Athena, disguised as a soldier, comes and knocks on the door, like quite literally, and asks for hospitality, which means, welcome and food and things like that. So Telemachus has good morale, so he obviously allows that. And the soldier, or Athena in disguise, tells Telemachus that Odysseus will be back soon, and Telemachus should go to Nestor to ask if Nestor knows where Odysseus could possibly be. And Telemachus, judging from how Athena or the soldier knows so much, he comes to one conclusion: it's a god or a goddess. So he sails, and he packs up. He sails to Pylos, which is the home of Nestor. He asks Nestor about Odysseus, but Nestor honestly does not know what happened to Odysseus, but he does know who does know. So he points Telemachus to the direction of Sparta. Sparta is the home of Menelaus and Helen, if you guys can remember from the Iliad. So Telemachus sails to Sparta now, and this is a pretty long journey, but in the book it was characterized as only taking a few weeks or so. So he goes there, he finds Menelaus and Helen happily remarried, as if the Trojan War didn't happen at all. And yeah, for some background information, Helen ran away with Paris, and Menelaus almost killed Helen, almost, like this much away from her neck.
但是现在他们非常的恩爱，他们的一个儿子和一个女儿在那个这个年轻英雄到来的时候，正好都在订婚，他们的心情也非常的好。然后即使对他们的女儿和阿克琉斯的儿子订婚了，他们的儿子呢和斯巴达的一个淑女订婚了，都是在同时。
Wow, what a coincidence! And Telemachus just came at the exact date.
对，海伦几乎没有受到特洛伊战争的任何影响，她的丈夫依然非常的爱她，然后这个远道而来的这些客人们见到她的美貌，也依然是觉得非常的震惊和拜服在她的美貌之下。
What if another Paris comes? But we're not going to talk about that, because I actually, like, what if another Trojan War starts? So.
大家可能会好奇说，这些女性她们都是这种成年的孩子的这个，比如说这个特勒马克斯他的母亲，为什么在这个儿子已经都20多岁的时候，还有那么多人愿意向他求婚要娶她呢？第一是因为她是某个国王的女儿，娶了她就得到那个国王的位置了。另外一个原因呢，就是大家还记不记得？然后之前我有跟咱们分享过，就是这些希腊的女孩子结婚都是很早的，差不多14岁的样子就会开始他们的婚姻生活。也就是说，这个时候特勒马克斯他的这个母亲可能才30岁到40岁之间，正是这个女性非常漂亮的一个时间。所以说 当然海伦也是同样的情况，他们都依然是非常漂亮的。这就是当时的一个故事的一个背景吧。
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on. So, Telemachus arrives at Sparta and asks Menelaus about what happened to Odysseus. And Menelaus is like, first, let me tell you my story. So, I was trapped on this island and there was no wind, so we couldn't set sail. And then this goddess shows up. She tells me that if I capture her father, then her father can tell me what to do. And so I go up to a cave, I find him, and then I capture him, but then he starts shape-shifting. He shape-shifted into a snake and a lion, but he's too weak for me. So I capture him, and now I go like, do your thing, oh God of telling me stuff. And he's like, okay, so first of all, you are stranded because you forgot to sacrifice to Zeus and all the other Olympians. And second of all, Agamemnon is dead. Little Ajax has drowned and Odysseus is stranded. And Telemachus goes, that's literally all I needed to know. So he sets sail again, but Menelaus leaves him, gives him a gift. And the gift was made by Hephaestus. So I don't really know why Menelaus would give that to him. And he wasn't if Telemachus said, oh, that's pretty, I want that. So Menelaus couldn't really turn him down, but that's not what he did. So he offered Telemachus like horses, chariots, and gold, but Telemachus told him that he couldn't take all of those. So Menelaus was like, how about you just take this random godly gift that God gave it to me? And like, there's not much of godly gifts on earth, and I don't know why he would give that away, but I guess he's pretty good at the hospitality part. So yeah, this concludes our Telemachus timeline. So we are going to move on to the Odysseus timeline, which is a bit longer.
OK， 那我可能在这里稍微补充一点点，这个阿伽门农的这个结局。这个结局可能大家在上一次的时候也跟大家分享过。
Yeah, so like everybody learns about Agamemnon's death by the old man of the sea, which Menelaus, who I acted a bit before, captured him and was telling him just in the comments.
阿伽门农他们这个家族叫做阿特柔斯家族，是非常悲剧、非常悲惨的一个家族。他们的命运总是跟这种父子相残呀，然后兄弟相杀呀，就是联系在一起。大家可能知道有一个非常有名的悲剧叫做俄狄浦斯王，这就是他们家族悲剧的开始。这个阿伽门农他们就是俄狄浦斯王的后裔吧。阿伽门农他回到了他的故乡之后，因为我们在讲伊利亚特的时候有提到过，他把他的女儿为了保证胜利，他把他的女儿骗到那个特洛伊去，然后把她献祭了。所以说他的太太阿伽门农的太太就非常的恨他，然后回去之后就亲自上手，就是把他这个让他去世了。然后在这之后呢，他还想把他自己的小儿子也杀掉，因为女儿是无法报仇的，但是儿子是可以报仇的。但是他这个儿子已经被他自己的姐姐然后早早的就送走了。他后来回来之后，就向这个阿伽门农的太太，也就是他的母亲复仇，然后杀掉了他的母亲，然后最后受到复仇女神的追杀，然后又逃到雅典去，然后在雅典经过雅典娜的审判和在当地召开的那种就是一个审判的会议吧，然后宣判他无罪，然后他才能够继续平静的生活下去。这就是阿伽门农的这个后续的一个故事。以后我们可能在著名的希腊人里头，我们会讲到一些剧作家、一些悲剧作家，他们写到过很多这方面的故事，我们到时候可以再比较详细的分享一下。
Yeah, and now about the second one mentioned, Little Ajax. So I did talk about this at the end of the Iliad class, but I'm going to say it again in case you guys don't remember. And of course, there is something in Greek mythology called hubris. Hubris is in myths when a person, most likely a hero, she gets too prideful, and then he or she thinks that they can challenge the gods, and in the end, he or she gets punished or killed by the gods because of his or her pride. And that's what led to the death of little Ajax. So little Ajax was wrecked by his ship were wrecked by Poseidon. And when he survived and when he clambered onto the rocks, he boasted that not even the gods could kill him. And then he died because the gods killed him. So it's ironic, but it's also like hubris. So now we're going to Odysseus' side. So back on Calypso, when Hermes came, he told Calypso to let Odysseus go, and Calypso would talk about how the gods never let a goddess and a mortal man have love. But then, of course, she can't disobey Zeus's orders. So she tells Odysseus to make his own raft, which is kind of cruel. Can't they just materialize one? But of course, hard work is what it is. But okay, so Calypso lets Odysseus free, and we will talk about what happens to Calypso later. But because she just lives on here, so she doesn't really die. But the curse is that every 1,000 years there's like a hero that would make her fall in love with them, and then the hero would not. The hero would appreciate her, but will always want to leave, so that would leave her heartbroken. So anyways, Odysseus leaves, and then Poseidon just came back from visiting island, and then he wrecks Odysseus. So his raft is fine, but he gets thrown off. So then this goddess named Ino came and gave him her veil, which is like the stuff that women wear on weddings, and told him to use it as a headband or a belt, but it depends on what version. Most of them say a belt, but some do say a headband. So it's protective and it won't make him drown. But Odysseus, he has a perfectly fine raft. Why would he need a veil? But then his raft broke, so he put the veil on, and then he swam ashore on an unknown land, and then he passes out because of exhaustion. And he happens to go to this place named Phaeacia. So then the princess is called Narcissia, and Athena, always looking out for her dude or Odysseus, swoops down into Narcissia's dream and tells her, hey, you should go to the seaside today. Then you can do some laundry there, and then you'll get very good looks. And then Narcissia wakes. That's a great idea. And she goes to the seaside. And then she finds Odysseus, and Odysseus humbly asks her for hospitality. And she says, sure, but she's not dumb. So she tells Odysseus to go through the back door.
这些漂亮的女孩总是在希腊神话里面，这些公主总是被当作工具人，就像我们打游戏的时候里面出现的那些工具人一样，带领你，然后走向下一个关卡，然后你就可以去通关，有点像这种。
So then, because she knows that if she walked through the ports with an unknown man, then there will be rumors and, bad stuff, gossip, horrible stuff, and stuff. So Odysseus goes through the back door, and then he is stopped by a child who is Athena in disguise, and Athena, or the child, leads Odysseus into the palace, where they have a feast for let's say complete stranger day. So then they have a lunch feast, and then they have a sports festival, something like that. So Odysseus watches their people dance do sports and things. And then a young man sees Odysseus's muscles and asks him if he knew how to throw the stone discs. So Odysseus tells them that Odysseus was just being humble here and saying that, oh, you guys have much more muscle strength than you guys are much more younger than me, so you guys should do it. You guys should get all the honor and all the glory. But then they thought that, so then they turn it into a time. They say, oh my God, yeah, because he's so old. Oh my, OMG, lol. But then Odysseus turns it against them by picking up the biggest stone disc and throwing it the farthest.
我们停一下，我们提个小问题，大家猜猜看，他们进行的这个体育运动里面都有什么？然后这个是我们一个非常有趣的知识点，就是古代的运动会，他们主要都有什么？来，有没有人知道的 ？Richard，
Boxing?
Do they have boxing?
他们在这里头没有 boxing， 但是很好 ，boxing 确实是他们就是希腊人最古老的一种运动之一。
They did have that, but they didn't.
Is it dueling?
Wait, what kind of dueling?
Like with swords or something?
Yeah, they do have dueling, but that's in Romans. Like they would have gladiator fights. But of course, it's so dangerous. You might die.
Okay, Brian.
I think they used to play discuses. Yeah, they throw discuses.
Yeah, the stone, the thing that Perseus used to kill his grandfather.
还有没有？还有没有？
Poseidon without the profile picture.
Horse races.
Yeah, they most possibly had that, but I don't think they had it in Phaeacia because they were known for their ports and ships and mainly dancing.
Fishing.
Brian again.
Do they have dance competitions?
Yeah, they did have dance, but they didn't compete.
Do they go fishing competitions?
I'm not sure if they did, but they could have.
Yeah.
好，那我公布一下答案啊。最重要的是，他们进行了一场跑步比赛。最开始是跑步比赛，为了那个，还有呢，就是进行了掷铁饼比赛。好，还有没有
In the metal desk.
摔跤比赛，对，这项感觉有点像他们的5项全能里面的一个比赛。总之是非常的有意思，大家可以去看一下，在荷马的这个史诗里面这2部吧，他们都比较详细的描述了古代希腊人他们进行体育运动的场景。比如说在伊利亚特里面有描述了，就是阿克琉斯在他的朋友的葬礼上，为他朋友举办的葬礼上，然后坟头办体育会，然后对，办了一个体育会。然后在这里头呢，又是在奥德修斯又有一场体育会，他也进行了比较详细的描述，大家都可以去看一下，能够看到就是古希腊人民的这种日常的这种生活和娱乐，还是挺有意思的。那好，我们还继续。
Yeah. Okay, so after the toxic gamers, not just gay. After the people who taunted Odysseus saw how strong he was, they apologized sincerely, unlike those really mean people, and they gave him some gifts to, make up for it, and they left happily as friends. So now that's like the whole evening went past. So now for the dinner party or the dinner feast. Now a poet starts to sing about the Trojan horse, and then Odysseus starts to cry. And Odysseus then reveals his identity because they start to ask him. So now let's have a small question time. If you guys were Odysseus, when would you reveal your identity to the people, or would you never reveal it?
I would like reveal it when the party is done.
Okay, that's a smart decision because then you will know if they are a good host or not. Brian.
I would reveal it when those little kids challenged me after they challenged me.
Oh, so wait, they aren't little kids. They're like grown adults, but like young adults. Like
I don't care, little kids.
yeah.
Okay.
Your turn.
18 years old adults. 18 years old adults.
Like in their 20s and 30s. Richard.
I wouldn't hide it at first and shoot them and then get my honor back.
Nice. However, they actually welcomed you.
波塞冬，我们伟大的波塞
The one
冬。
without the profile picture. There's like 2 or 3.
What I would actually do is like I wouldn't show them my identity if I was Odysseus, because then after the feast I wouldn't even show it, because then if I show it, they ask, they know, they get me in trouble, and then I go to the principal's office, and then yeah, so I wouldn't show it, and then I'll just find a small cave and then show it off. Well, there's no one there, so duh. And then so I can take a breath, and then I go back to like, hey, where's that dude anyway? I'm like, okay, I'm here. And then they're like, oh yeah. And I just I'm like, give me a bow. And then they're like, okay, you're so strong, let's get him a bow. And I'm like, bye, and I sail away.
Oh,
very
I
nice
need to add
plan.
something.
Huh?
I need to add something. I'll ask my wife what happened, and then she'll say like those suitors trying to like marry me, so then I'll kill them.
Yeah, that's like almost exactly what happened. How did you know?
Yeah， 来，我们来往下揭示一下
Okay, so
真实的故
continuing
事。
from the feast, the feast, Odysseus reveals that he is Odysseus. Well, he is Odysseus. It is what it is. And so he starts telling his story. And this is where this is like what happened. Like last time we talked about the Odyssey, like what happened on sea. It was all Odysseus that was telling it on a feast. So the magical stuff, we don't even know if it happened or is it Odysseus just making up lies. But because it's the whole thing is like not real, so I guess.
Okay.
But of course, Odysseus is the one who tells the story. And at the beginning, the beginning, it starts with Odysseus on Calypso's island, and then he tells what happens before, and then they go back to the present. So this is a bit confusing, but that's like what happens. So after that, they talk all the way to midnight, which took a bunch of more time than what we did. We only used 1 hour. So they talk all the way to midnight. Odysseus sleeps in a comfy bed in like after 10 years, and he sleeps in a comfy bed. And then the Phoenician king sends him on a boat and sends his treasures all the way to Ithaca. And he finally is back.
大家还记得那个图吗？绕成一个乱圈的图，他终于回来了。
I have something to say right now.
Okay, go ahead.
I have this book.
Oh, nice.
很好。
Wait, is that a novel or
A novel.
Oh,
OK，
I read the
太
whole
棒
book.
了，
I read the whole book.
nice.
非常非常棒，很厉害，
Don't
加油
give
做完。
spoilers. Don't give spoilers.
OK， 我们继续。
So now Athena is a person, well, a goddess more like, to always help Odysseus. So once they reached home, there was a bunch of fog, and Odysseus thought that it was actually somewhere else, like another monstrous place, and but then Athena cleared away the fog and told him what to do. Athena also gave him a disguise and disguised him as a beggar so that he wouldn't be found out and be assassinated. So then Athena tells him that Telemachus will be back soon because Telemachus went to find him and where he shall go. And that place is the home of Eumaeus. Eumaeus, as we said before, is the swineherd. So when he went there, he was almost bitten by a dog, but then Eumaeus drives it off by using a rock. So Eumaeus leads Odysseus, or beggar Odysseus, home with hospitality, and they spend the whole night of Odysseus making up a random story to give Eumaeus. Like, I had a family once. I went to Egypt, something like that.
对，他编了一个故事，就是说自己是一个富商的那个儿子，然后又遭遇了什么什么什么事情，反正就是瞎编一通。他就像刚才我们那个问的那个问题一样，他是一个非常谨慎的人，他没有一开始就像这个就像他的目租人，然后吐露他真实的身份。
Yeah. Once again, when you reveal your identity to Eumaeus, although you're not completely sure that he's loyal, though, if he's not loyal, he'll assassinate you. But
他看起来很忠诚，但是你会不会就是很快的向他表露身份呢？
If you're Odysseus.
而且你可能也需要帮助。
So Poseidon without the profile picture.
Odysseus, I would just be like, hey, you know what? I just came from Mars and blah blah blah, and then he would freak out and think I am crazy, and then he walks out the door, and I'm like, yay.
Oh, that's actually a very clever plan to make other people think that you're crazy, but you're actually not, so that you can trick them. That's a very good plan.
Okay.
Poseidon without the profile picture.
What I would do is I would go like this. So I would not show his identity until I get him out. How I would get him out is like, you know, Egypt, and then he's like, and he's like, I'm a god from Egypt, and he's like, and he's like, I'm the god of writing and stuff. Talk. What do you think so? And he's like, so you better be off. And he's like, and I'm like, right now, or else I'm gonna show you. You look at my eyes, you die. And then he just scares off. He's like, there's a god from Egypt. And then I just shut the door, lock the door. And when people came, I'm like, I'm the god of Egypt. I'm gonna kill you all if you don't go away. Leave me alone. And then yeah.
Okay, that is a very good plan. Brian.
I would not show my identity and get food.
Nice.
I'm hungry.
Athena.
I would just scare him away, and then I would I get all the food and.
He's so pure though. He's so loyal and he's so kind and innocent. Why do you all want to kill him?
他真的是一个很好的人。
Because we are all very violent and we like to see drama.
I think I just let him die.
Don't worry, guys. We'll have a ton of killing after this place. We'll have a ton of killing.
Oh,
Okay.
so isn't he a loyal swine? Like, isn't he a swine?
No. Swineherd means that you hurt a swine. Swine is a pig.
I think I just make him swear his loyalty.
Yeah, you could do that. That would be a very good idea to see who is royal.
Oh, then I would.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, guys, please, let's leave this to after we finish because I'm not sure if we have enough time for this. If you guys want to talk more about your opinion, we can leave it to after, and we can have some of the time after class to talk about it. So let's continue. So after a whole night of telling his random fake story, background, tragic story, like tragic anime protagonist story, they fall asleep, and then the next morning Telemachus returns. But when Telemachus went, the suitors, they all knew that Telemachus was the only one that was protecting Penelope, so that they staged an ambush. So if he went back in the main road, he will get killed. So Athena knows of this and warns him. So he goes to the swineherd's house, and then there, Eumaeus was found doing a barbecue with Odysseus. So they were happily eating. And then when Eumaeus went to get something, Odysseus had his disguise ripped off by Athena, and then they have a heartwarming reunion.
这里头我说一个非常非常小的 fun fact， 或者说小的小故事吧。这个目租人呢，他给奥德修斯吃的这道菜， 跟奥德修斯当年在《伊利亚特》里头，他去阿克琉斯的那个营帐，劝阿克琉斯跟阿伽门农和好的时候，阿克琉斯给他吃的菜是一模一样的。那个菜是什么呢？就这同一道菜啊，就是把那个猪肉拿到那个火上烤，对，就像是 barbecue， 然后上面撒上面粉，然后烤好，就是一边烤然后一边撒面粉，然后烤好的这种食物给他吃，在当时的古希腊就是非常好的款待客人的食物。
Yeah,
这是一个小小的重合，非常小的点， 但是有
because
意
it's a
思。
barbecue.
对，非常 popular 在那个时候。那好吧，不好意思打断你。
Anyways, Odysseus and Telemachus have a heartwarming reunion. But all of that besides, they start plotting to kill the suitors. And Telemachus tells them that they cannot win by sheer power or sheer numbers because the suitors, there's at least 200 of them. But then Odysseus rebukes by saying, but then do you know if Zeus and Athena on our side? So of course he gets help from Athena and advice from Athena so that he can defeat them eventually. So moving on, so they kind of use Eumaeus' home as a base and they go. So they head towards the palace of Odysseus, which is infested now with suitors. And on their way, they find Odysseus' old hunting dog. When he left, the dog was only a pup, but now it's an old dog and lies in the poop. Okay, no, I'm not joking. It's actually it's lying in the poop because it's old and people don't want to care for it anymore.
因为它的主人在你看所有的这种宠物啊，从古至今，像都有这么多宠物，就是非常忠诚于主人的这个故事。奥德修斯去打仗之后，然后又传来了他死路上的不好的消息，然后这些求婚者就到他们的宫殿里头，就是示意吃喝，然后在那赖着不走。但是他们从来没有就是照顾过这条狗，然后他的狗以前真是一条顶呱呱的好猎犬，但是这个主人不在，然后又没有人照顾它，它逐渐就太老了。但是它终于还是就是等到了它的主人回来，就非常的感人。它看到它主人的最后一刻，就终于默默的咽下了那口气，就去世了。
Yeah, it would have been a heartwarming union. And the dog was the only one at that time other than that would recognize beggar Odysseus. And then the dog dies. All of the readers here now would have went into a heart attack. It's like it would have been a heartwarming reunion. But why? Okay, moving on. So after the tragic death of the dog, they go into the palace of Odysseus. So now the suitors, they're feasting right now. So Telemachus tells Odysseus to, because they have to keep the beggar a disguise, no son would tell their father to beg for food. So beggar Odysseus begs every table for food, and then they all abridge except for this one guy named Antinos. Well, there's many ways of saying his name, but I prefer to stay with Antinos. Throws a chair at him, and Odysseus, not wanting to cause a scene, just ignores it and starts eating near the door. And then there's this time a big, bulky, but not very muscular, and a very fat person, which is like most likely another beggar, but a stronger beggar.
Okay.
Tells him that's his spot. Like it's a door. It's a doorstep. There is no such thing as spots and doorsteps. But of course, he just wants to have a fight. But then, when they realize that beggar Odysseus has a bunch of muscles, the guy starts to back off. But then Antinos tells him that if he loses, Antinos is going to ship him to one of Antinos's friends that literally feed humans to dogs. So the fat guy, he tries to put up a fight, but doesn't even touch Odysseus, and Odysseus ends up beating him up. So after that, Odysseus earns the earns the respect of some people, and some nicer suitors congratulate him and give him some rewards. And the initial reward was a really good, meal. But then he sees one of the suitors was the son of one of his friends, and tells him that he will be doomed if he continued to stay here. But the guy didn't listen to him, and then he ended up getting murdered as well. So of course, now after the feast is over, the nighttime, Telemachus took away all the shields and spears of the suitors that were hung on the walls so that they wouldn't be able to fight back when they attacked. And beggar Odysseus was called to meet Penelope. So we all know that Penelope is very, very wise and would most possibly figure out who Odysseus actually is. So what do you guys think? Would you go and meet Penelope and risk being caught, or would you rather just not meet her? Athena.
I would rather meet Penelope, because like Penelope is wise. So even if she figures out that I am Odysseus, then she wouldn't tell the suitors, or else I will get captured.
Brian.
I would meet Penelope, because why not?
Yeah, exactly. And the Poseidon without the profile picture.
I wouldn't meet Penelope. You know why?
Why?
Even if she figures it out, and just like the other Poseidon said, like even though she figures it out, she's not gonna tell the suitors. But I think she might tell, because you don't know if she's on their side.
Yeah, but
they're not as smart as her. Maybe she's on the suitor side, and then we come the suitors go like, Odysseus is here, kill him. Odysseus dies.
Wow.
Game over.
Wait. If Penelope is on the suitor side, then why doesn't Penelope like marry them?
Because there's too much suitors to choose from. But of course, she's not on their side.
那我们看看奥德修斯是怎么选择的吧。
So he goes because why not? And so Penelope always has people that keeps her updated on what's happening, because she usually just stays in her room. So when Odysseus came, Penelope ordered Euryclea, Odysseus's own nurse, to give him a foot bath to wash his feet. But then Euryclea sees Odysseus's, there's a scar on his thigh, which is, okay, no, I'm not gonna raise my leg for this, but it's like behind your leg but under your knee, so that like somewhere over there on the side.
来，抬起你的脚来。
No need. So like 20 or 30 years ago, when Odysseus was still young, when he went hunting, there was a giant boar that scratched him there, and it left a forever undisguised mark. So even Athena couldn't disguise it. And when she found out, Odysseus immediately told her that he will have to kill Euryclea if she tells. But Euryclea was royal, because she literally raised Odysseus. She raised Odysseus, and she would obviously not betray Odysseus. But now, honestly, everybody turned against Odysseus, and he can't trust anybody now. So now, anyways, Penelope asks him that she had a dream where she saw a bunch of geese, and then there's an eagle that killed all the geese, or in some other versions, other animals, but and then she was actually crying until the eagle said that, do not worry, I am your husband. And these geese were the suitors, and I will soon kill them all. And she asks Odysseus what it means, but obviously you don't need to ask anybody. And it obviously means that Odysseus will soon take his revenge. So Odysseus, apparently he says what I just said, but Penelope doesn't believe him and tells him that the next day she will host a tournament. So Odysseus used to show off about this every time. So there was this giant bow which has a giant draw strength, and he used to string it very, very easily and then shoot an arrow through 12 axe heads. And only a person exactly like Odysseus would be able to do it. And Odysseus is like, that's a great idea. But I think, in my opinion, I think Penelope already knew that this beggar was Odysseus, so that she purposely did this competition and purposely led Odysseus here so that Odysseus would know what she is doing. But of course, this is just a theory and we can't confirm because Homer is, well, deceased. Anyways, so the next day, every suitor tries, but none of them does successfully. Telemachus tries and he almost does it, but this is like, so because he needs to do it himself, so then he can kill some suitors, and he needs his time to shine. So Telemachus pretends that he can't do it, and some other suitors tried before Odysseus is like, hey guys, can I try just for the kicks? And they're like, oh my god, yeah, you can sure, go ahead. And then he does it easily, and he casually shoots an arrow through all 12 axe heads. And then he shoots this dude, he shoots Antonius when he's drinking the wine. So then he pulls out his sword, which Telemachus supplied him with, and he starts shooting other people with bows and arrows. But before that, when he killed Antonius, there's some other suitors that said, hey, you killed our ringleader, and we were only doing this because he told us to. He blackmailed us. So how about this? We'll pay, every one of us will pay you how much we took from you, in addition to a bunch of gold and silver and stuff. So if you were Odysseus, would you accept? So, okay, anyways, let me break this down. So they offer payment and sheep and all the stuff that they took. And Odysseus or you would offer forgiveness. So what would you guys choose?
If I were Odysseus, I would just be like, it's really hard to choose. Number one, I think I would just kill them all and take all those because they might be tricking us. Like if they say, "Hey, we'll give you gold. Come over here so we can give you the gold," and then when Odysseus comes there, they kill Odysseus immediately. So I think that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Okay,
Poseidon without the profile picture.
I would accept. You know why? Because he said, in the original one, they would. You know why? Because they're like, I swear I'll give you some stuff. You can't break a swear that time. And then I'll go like promise, and they're like promise, and then I'm like, you can't break a promise, and they're like, okay. So that, and then some of them will be innocent, so I'll let them go anyways.
Yeah. That's what Odysseus. That's close to what Odysseus did. Now, Athena.
I would just threaten to kill them if they tried to break that promise.
Oh, you guys should make them swear on the river of Styx. If they break the promise that's sworn on the river of Styx, they die.
What if they don't know what the river Styx is?
Then they're stupid. They will die of stupidity.
Okay.
Yeah.
They will die of stupidity.
Jeffrey.
Then what if like?
What are you talking about?
What if Odysseus was like, hey, you want to come over and I'll give you a bunch of gold? I saw a gold sea where there's a bunch of gold in there. And
what are you doing?
Oh, we're doing the second half of the Odyssey where Odysseus is about to kill the people. The suitors.
What people? I just joined.
The suitor.
I forgot what time we were. What time?
Okay. So there's a small recap at the end, and if you can stay after, we will have like a short 4 minutes of a video that we watched last time, which many people requested to finish. There will be like a short review.
OK，那我们继续。
Yeah, let's continue. So Odysseus, he chooses, no, I don't want to forgive them. And he starts to kill the suitors one by one. And the suitors, they don't have armor or weapons, so they can't even fight back. But this time, this random old guy that was helping the suitors found their weapons in the storage room where Telemachus hid them, and he starts to give them to them. So this time, Eumaeus and another person, or Odysseus's old cowherd, they are all loyal, and Odysseus showed them his scar so that they would listen to what Odysseus said. So Odysseus told them to guard the storage room, and they accidentally led the guy who was helping the suitors past, and then they quickly tied the guy up, and so the suitors they only got some weapons, but they didn't get all of them. So they fought back, and Athena helped Odysseus fight. And in the end, they killed all the suitors. They had the unloyal maids clean it up, and then the unloyal maids would later get killed by Telemachus. So now Odysseus takes a bath and then reunites with Penelope.
So it is very
这是一
bloody.
次大屠杀。
Yeah. However, no, this isn't over. This is not over. First of all, Penelope doesn't believe that Odysseus is actually home. Like, no, you can't be Odysseus. So she decides to test Odysseus by saying that, so how about I'll just move your bed out into the the dining room. And then Odysseus is like, wait, what? Because his bed is made of a tree trunk. One of the legs is made of a tree trunk, so you can't move it unless you break it. And he built a whole castle based off of where his bed is, instead of building his bed where his whole castle is. So now Penelope knows that Odysseus is Odysseus, so that they are reunited, and it's finally over. It's the end. No. So Athena comes over and tells him, and quite literally yells at them, no, Odysseus, you came this far. You can't let something called consequences defeat you. Because if he killed all the suitors, the relatives of the suitors would be very angry. And here's a quote from the Odyssey. So what kind of king leads all the young men to the front lines of the battlefield and then starts the next generation when he comes back? Because he led the first generation of young soldiers to the Trojan War and then kills the next generation, which are the suitors. But of course, in the end, Athena made them have peace, and that is the end of the Odyssey. As for the epilogue, remember Tiresias when he was at Circe last time, when he went to the land of the dead, Tiresias told him a prophecy, and it's not just that. Know them that once the stuff was settled, he would have to take an oar. An oar is like the paddle, but they call it an oar. He needs to take an oar very far into the mainland until the people will ask him what that is. And once he plants it there, and then he will have to sacrifice things to Poseidon to beg for his forgiveness. And then after he does that, he can live a long and happy life. No, I mean, actually, a hero gets to live a long and happy life. I mean, wow, first time. So this is officially the end of the Odyssey, and this is also the end of our Greek mythology unit. And here's a video and recap, because some of us may have arrived late. And this is a small recap of what happened last time and this time. And this is also the video that you guys requested to finish, because we weren't able to finish the original video. But we will do it from the start. We won't skip anything, just for recap. Tell me if there's any questions with hearing.
On Mount Olympus, the gods were debating whether Odysseus should return home. Eventually, Zeus decides Odysseus should return, so he sends Hermes, the messenger god, to tell Calypso to set Odysseus free, while the goddess Athena goes to Odysseus' son Telemachus to help him find out what happened to his father, because he and his mother's palace is being overrun with suitors after their fortune. Athena, in disguise, convinces him to go to Nestor, who fought with Odysseus in the Trojan War. But he does not know what happened to him. He suggests to go to Menelaus, who knows that Odysseus is stranded with Calypso. Meanwhile, Hermes travels to Calypso's island, and she agrees to let Odysseus go. So he sets sail on a small raft, but it is destroyed during a storm created by Poseidon, the god of the sea. Eventually, he washes up on the shore of the Phaeacians, who welcome him and declare a holiday in his honor. Odysseus proves his strength by throwing a discus farther than anyone else. Then, King Alcinous asks him who he is, so Odysseus starts his story. After leaving Troy, Odysseus and his men attacked a city, but reinforcements arrive and they had to flee. Then they came upon the Lotus Eaters, where many of his men ate a strange plant and lost all desire to go home. But Odysseus dragged them away, only to land on the Cyclopes island, where they were locked in Polyphemus, the Cyclops' cave. But Odysseus blinded him and tricked him into moving the boulder blocking the exit. After sailing more, they came upon the Keeper of the Winds, who gave Odysseus a bag of wind to blow them back to Ithaca. But his men opened it, and it blew them the wrong way, where they landed on the giant Laestrygonians, who threw boulders at Odysseus' ship, killing many of his men. They escaped, and came to the witch Circe, who turned Odysseus' men into pigs. Then told him to go to the underworld and find a prophet. In the underworld, Odysseus talked to Tiresias, the prophet, who tells him the path to Ithaca. Then they passed the Sirens, who lure sailors to crash on their rocks, but Odysseus' men tied him to the mast of the ship. Once they passed the Sirens, they came upon the whirlpool Charybdis. To avoid it, they passed Scylla, a six-headed monster who ate 6 of Odysseus' men. Next, they came to the island of the sun, where Odysseus' men sacrificed the sun's sacred cattle, and the ship was destroyed, leaving Odysseus as the sole survivor to wash up on Calypso's island. When Alcinous hears Odysseus' story, he gives him a ship and sends him back to Ithaca. When he gets there, Odysseus wants to make sure that everyone is still loyal to him after being gone for 20 years. So Athena gives him a disguise as a beggar. He then meets his swineherd Eumaeus, who welcomes Odysseus, not knowing who he is. Telemachus returns to Ithaca and Odysseus reveals himself to his son. They then plan to kill the suitors. The next day there is a contest to string Odysseus' bow and send an arrow through 12 axes. Out of all the suitors, Odysseus is the only one who can do it. Then, as Antinous, the leader of the suitors, is taking a drink, Odysseus shoots an arrow at him and kills him. Odysseus and Telemachus battle with all the suitors and kill them. After all the suitors are gone, Penelope, Odysseus' wife, tests him to make sure that it's him. Then she truly believes him. But the relatives of the suitors want to kill Odysseus. But Athena convinces all of them to live in peace.
I don't really get it. It's like, hey, all the suitors live in peace, and Odysseus goes on a death, almost near death trip. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is officially the end of our Greek mythology unit. And I thank you all for coming and listening. And this is, well, the end of our unit of Greek mythology, a total of 7 classes. And it has finally came to an end. We began with the introductions of the gods, the monsters, and the heroes, and now we finished the 2 most famous Greek epics, the Iliad and the Odyssey.
非常谢谢大家，然后一直以来跟我们一起，然后走过了这一段非常有意思的然后学习之旅。那么我们也在3周之后，然后下一个旅程等着大家。那么今天就到这里了，谢谢大家，谢谢大家有1个小时的时间跟我们一起度过，谢谢。